Friends of Islam, this time the Islamic faith is back before you to share Islamic information. I hope it inspires your activities today, and don't forget to click the subscribe button and activate the bell button notifications so you don't miss the latest news from the Islamic Faith channel. Islam is now starting to show its movement in Australia. In fact, quite a few Australian Muslims have found a place in government. According to the Special Envoy for Cooperation of the Organization of the Islamic Conference, OIC, Ridwan Jadwat, Australia today is different from Australia in the past. The development of Muslims is increasingly rapid and has many important roles in various sectors, including in government. Today, Islam is one of the fastest growing religions in Australia, and Muslims are an important integral part of the rich mosaic of Australian society. The development of Islam and Muslims in the land of Kangaroos is marked by many mosques, Islamic schools, and halal meat and restaurants. In addition, Australian Muslims have now become members of parliament, doctors, lawyers, diplomats, police, military, and businessmen. The Australian government is also increasingly open to immigrants. There is no longer a difference between black and white, said the Muslim diplomat who is now Australia's ambassador to Saudi Arabia. Friends of the Islamic faith, Australia is now not only a modern and multicultural democracy, but a country that recognizes all traditions and beliefs of its citizens. It is even said that Australia is now a friendly place for everyone. In Australia, people come from almost 200 countries and speak almost 400 languages. Not only that, more than 3 million people speak a language other than English at home. Freedom of religion and belief is central to the multicultural model, with more than 130 religious traditions present in Australia, including more than 600,000 Muslims. The presence of Islam in a secular country seems to be growing rapidly. In the last census in 1996, it was stated that there had been an increase in the Muslim population in Australia of up to 161% in the last 15 years, whereas the increase in the population of Australia only reached 21.7% in the same period. Muslim communities are now found in all states and territories of Australia. Significantly, more than a third of Australian Muslims were born there. Australia is a country where the majority of the population adheres to Christianity. This does not make Islam as a religion that comes from the Middle East a minority, because Islam is the second largest country after Christianity in Australia. Islam has experienced a very large development in Australia. Islam developed in Australia in 1900, then experienced rapid development until in 2022, the Muslim population in Australia became 62.95%. This figure shows the large number of Muslims in Australia. In addition, in Australia itself, there are Muslim schools that are almost the same number as schools from the Australian government. In fact, Australia is the birthplace of a fairly large Muslim community here. The rapid growth of Islam itself is apparently not only influenced by the existence of ethnic groups that are already Muslim, but also comes from the interest of indigenous Australian citizens who are interested in Islam. Islam in Australia is not only growing because of the influence of ethnic groups or other people who have embraced Islam, but because of the interest of the population itself in Islam. Australian Muslims come from 183 different countries, mostly from South Asia and the Middle East, making them the most diverse community in the world. While the number of Christians in Australia is declining, the number of Muslim and Hindu religious groups is growing significantly. For Australians who are Muslim and live in big cities such as Sydney, there is no problem in carrying out their worship. Even one of the largest and most modern mosques is located in this New South Wales area, namely the Lakemba Mosque, which is not only known in Australia but is also widely known abroad, where it is always crowded with Muslims every Friday, and especially on holidays, such as Eid al-Adha. There are thousands of people crowding the Lakemba Mosque, because the area around here is a settlement of Australian citizens from Lebanon, the majority of whom are Muslim. Islam is indeed one of the fastest growing religions in the world, including in Australia. Although the number of Muslims in Australia continues to increase, the largest religion in the country is still Christianity. Globally, Islam is predicted to become the religion with the largest number of followers in the coming decades, due to high birth rates in Muslim-majority countries and religious conversions. However, whether Islam will become the world's #1 religion depends on a number of factors, including demographics, migration, and future social changes. In Australia, despite its rapid growth, the number of Muslims is still relatively small compared to other religions. However, the influence of Islam in social and cultural life in Australia continues to grow. The growth of Islam in Australia is also influenced by several factors, including immigration from Muslim-majority countries such as Lebanon, Indonesia, Pakistan, and other Middle Eastern countries. In addition, the Muslim population in Australia has also increased through religious conversion. The Muslim community in Australia is diverse, with a variety of ethnic and cultural backgrounds contributing to the country's cultural richness. In major cities such as Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, mosques and Islamic centers continue to flourish, becoming hubs of religious and social activity for Muslims. The Australian government generally promotes tolerance and religious freedom, although the Muslim community also faces challenges such as discrimination and stereotyping. However, with the growth of the community and increased awareness of Islam, interfaith understanding and relations have also improved. However, it is important to note that these predictions are speculative and are influenced by many factors that may change over time. For example, the level of secularization in different countries, immigration policies, economic changes, and political factors may influence the future growth and spread of religion. Many people in various parts of the world, including in Western countries such as Australia, are choosing to convert to Islam. This phenomenon can be caused by various factors, including spiritual search, interest in Islamic teachings, personal relationships with Muslims, and exposure to information about Islam through the media and social interactions. In Australia, there are also several public figures and celebrities who have decided to embrace Islam, which has attracted the attention of the wider community. In addition, some people who convert to Islam may be attracted by aspects such as peace, order, and a strong commitment to God that are taught in Islam. The Dawa movement, or efforts to spread Islamic teachings, also played an important role in the increasing number of people converting to Islam. Dawa is carried out by individuals, communities, and Islamic organizations that are active in various fields, from education to social assistance. For those who decide to convert to Islam, there is often a learning and adjustment process, as they must learn and adopt new practices in their daily lives, such as prayer, fasting, and halal eating. On the other hand, the Muslim community is usually very supportive and helpful to converts in this process, providing guidance and resources to help them understand and live Islam. Islam in Australia has grown rapidly in recent decades. The religion has experienced significant growth both in terms of the number of adherents and their contribution to various aspects of life in this country. Islam was initially introduced to Australia by Muslim traders from Indonesia in the 18th century, who established relations with indigenous peoples in the north. However, a larger wave of immigration began in the 20th century, especially after World War II, with immigrants from countries such as Lebanon, Turkey, and later from various other Muslim countries. Today, Australian Muslims have grown to become one of the largest religious communities in the country. The rapid growth of the Muslim population is also supported by a high birth rate and increasing numbers of conversions to Islam. In major cities such as Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, the Muslim community has a strong presence, with many mosques, Islamic centers, and Islamic schools established. The contribution of Muslims in Australia is not only limited to the religious aspect, but also in the economic, educational, and social fields. Many Australian Muslims play a role in various professions, such as doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, and academics, all of whom contribute to the development of the country. While challenges such as discrimination and Islamophobia remain, support from the government and the general public helps ensure that Islam continues to thrive in Australia. In an increasingly pluralistic environment, Islam in Australia has a bright future, with the potential to make a greater contribution to social harmony and the progress of the country. In Australia, the growth of the Muslim community has been reflected in the increasing number of magnificent mosques that are filled with worshippers, especially during prayer times, especially on Fridays and during the month of Ramadan. These mosques serve not only as places of worship, but also as community centers that support education, social and cultural activities. In major cities such as Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and Perth, there are a number of mosques that have become important icons for the Muslim community. One example is the Lakemba Mosque in Sydney, which is one of the largest and oldest mosques in Australia. The mosque is often packed with worshippers, especially on Fridays, when thousands gather to perform Friday prayers. In Melbourne, the Preston Mosque is also a well-known center of worship, with impressive architecture and modern facilities that can accommodate hundreds of worshippers. The mosque is often filled with the Muslim community who come not only to pray, but also to attend various religious and social events. These mosques are also often the center of activity during the month of Ramadan, when Muslims gather to break their fast together and perform Taraweeh prayers. Many mosques even have to add additional space to accommodate the larger number of worshippers during this holy month. Not only in big cities, but in various small towns in Australia, mosques are also important centers for local Muslim communities. The increasing number of mosques and Islamic centers shows how rapidly Islam is developing in Australia. These mosques are real evidence of the existence and contribution of the growing Muslim community in Australian society. The enthusiasm and number of worshippers who come to these mosques, especially at certain times, reflects how strong the bonds of the Muslim community in Australia are, and their passion in preserving and celebrating their faith and traditions. The spread of Islam in Australia is a phenomenon that reflects the diversity and dynamism of society in this country. Islam began to be present in Australia since the 18th century through interactions between indigenous people in northern Australia and Muslim traders from Indonesia, especially Makassar. However, the more significant spread of Islam occurred in the 20th century with the arrival of immigrants from various Muslim countries. Traders from Makassar in South Sulawesi, Indonesia, were the first Muslims known to have interacted with indigenous people in northern Australia. They came in search of sea cucumbers and built good relations with the indigenous population for centuries. The first wave of Muslim immigrants came from Afghanistan, known as the Afghan Cameliers, in the late 19th century. They played a significant role in the exploration and development of the Australian outback. Although their numbers were relatively small, they established the first mosques in Australia, such as the Adelaide Mosque, which is the oldest mosque in Australia still standing today. Young Australian Muslims play a vital role in preserving and spreading the teachings of Islam while maintaining their identity as Australian citizens. They are often involved in activities that promote social integration and positive contributions to the wider community. The spread of Islam in Australia continues to this day, with the Muslim population continuing to grow. Islam in Australia is now recognized as an integral part of the country's multicultural society, playing an increasingly important role in shaping Australia's social and cultural identity. The presence of Islam in Australia has been recorded for hundreds of years and has influenced its society and how the Muslim community in the land of the Kangaroos was formed. The Islamic Museum of Australia showcases the rich artistic heritage and historical contributions of Muslims in Australia and overseas through exhibitions of art and historical objects. It is the first Islamic arts and cultural center in Australia, showcasing a diverse range of Islamic art, including architecture, calligraphy, painting, glass, ceramics, and textiles, as well as a collection of contemporary art by Australian Muslim artists. A few weeks ago, about 100 Muslim brothers and school teachers accompanied Lincoln Randall to recite the 2 sentences of the Shahada at the Launceston Mosque. The Shahada is a statement of testimony, marking a person's faith in Islam. Half a year ago, people would not have believed Randall would choose Islam as his life path. Born into a non-practicing Protestant family, Randall said that although he had always believed in God, Christianity seemed less than ideal for him. I had been to a few Christian churches before, and it was a battle for me. I just didn't feel connected or that it made sense. Before choosing Islam, Randall had lived in Indonesia for almost 18 years. He said he was very surprised when he first met the Muslim people, who were so friendly and warm. Surprised by how warm they were and how beautiful they were, it prompted him to delve deeper into Islam. After reciting the 2 sentences of the Shahada, he felt officially accepted into the community. It was amazing. I was so nervous, but I felt the warmth of everyone who came and welcomed me, Randall said. Islam is the world's fastest growing religion, Given globalization, immigration, and higher birth rates, the Pew Research Center notes, it makes perfect sense. Interestingly, there's also been a steady influx of Westerners embracing Islam. A 2023 report by Cambridge University Press found interest in Islam is growing in the West, with 15.8% of 1,134 Australian Muslims surveyed identifying themselves in 2020 as converts. Seeing the wealth of Islam growing across the country, from hijab tutorials to Ramadan and aid programs, has led Teresa Rui to support new Muslim women through the national organization Islamic Sciences and Research Academy, ISRA. Rui said 60 women had joined ISRA New South Wales this year for support as new Muslims, about 80% of them from traditionally non-Muslim ethnicities. Australia, renowned for its natural beauty, is also home to a thriving Muslim community. Muslim tourists visiting Australia can not only enjoy the stunning natural scenery, but also experience the warmth and friendliness of the Muslim communities in various cities. Here are some places in Australia that have a friendly and active Muslim community. Lakemba, Sydney. Sydney, the capital of New South Wales, offers a rich cultural experience with a large Muslim community in the Lakemba area. Located west of the Sydney CBD, it is known as one of the areas with the largest Muslim community in Australia. Lakemba street food is the center of Muslim life here, serving a variety of halal cuisine from all over the world. Along Halden Street, you will find shops selling everything from halal meat, exotic spices, to Muslim clothing. In addition, there is also a large mosque such as the Al Faisal Mosque, which is the center of religious and social activities for the local Muslim community. Footscray, Melbourne. Footscray, an area in Melbourne, is known for its thriving Muslim community. One of Footscray's main attractions is its diverse halal cuisine. Along Nicholson Street and Barclay Street, you can find Middle Eastern, Asian, and African cuisine. Footscray also has a number of mosques and Muslim activity centers that are the center of religious and social life. The Australian Islamic Centre is one of the famous mosques here, where you can worship, study religion, and participate in social activities. To increase solidarity and togetherness, the Muslim community in Footscray actively holds social events such as charity events, bazaars, and sports activities. Logan City, Brisbane. Logan City, located south of Brisbane, is home to a Muslim community. The Al Mustafa Mosque in Loganholme is the main religious center in Logan City. In addition to serving as a place of worship, the mosque is also a center for social and educational activities for the local Muslim community. It also provides halal shops and shopping centers that provide daily necessities. Logan City also cares about Islamic education, providing educational centers that support the intellectual and religious development of Muslim children. With parks and open spaces suitable for family recreation, Logan City offers a unique experience for those who want to experience the friendliness and diversity of Muslim life in a diverse community. Southern River, Perth. Southern River in Perth has an active and humble Muslim community. The city also provides religious facilities, such as the Perth Mosque, which was established in 1905, the Mirrabooka Mosque, the Beachboro Mosque, and the Hepburn Mosque. In Southern River, the Ibrahim Mosque is not only a place of worship, but also hosts various Islamic education classes. In addition to the mosque and Islamic Activity Center, there are also halal shops and restaurants serving delicious dishes. The Muslim community in Southern River often holds social and religious events that involve all levels of society. Through exploring these places, Muslim tourists can experience the warmth and friendliness of the Muslim community in Australia. With religious centers, halal shops, and restaurants serving delicious cuisine, Australia not only offers its natural beauty, but also presents a rich and inclusive cultural experience for Muslim tourists. Katanning. Katanning, a small city area located 3,000 km from the center of Sydney, Australia. Here it has the uniqueness as a place of shelter for the ethnic Malay village community on the Australian continent. The Katanning area is home to around 4,500 Malay residents, most of whom come from Cocos Island, a small island in the middle of the ocean, which is part of Australia. The majority of Katanning residents are Muslim, while some others are Christian. Despite living in Australia, the Malay community in Katanning still upholds their identity as Malays. Malay is the language of daily communication, plus some residents use English. Katanning, with its Malay village life on the Australian mainland, boasts a population of simple characters and upholds a culture of tolerance. Although modern times have penetrated this area, friendly natural attractions and stunning natural scenery still maintain the beauty of Malay village housing. Katanning is not just a small town, it is home to a solid and united Malay nation. From 1973 to 1990, many Malay people from the Cocos Islands, who have descendants from the Malay Peninsula and Sumatra, were relocated to Katanning by the Australian government. Katanning was chosen as a place of migration because of the need for workers in the rapidly growing agricultural sector. Harmonious diversity. Katanning has now become a city recognized in the eyes of the world, with 50 different ethnic groups living together harmoniously in Australia. Muslims make up 2.6% of Australia's total population, more than 600,000 according to the last census in 2016. About 3/4 live in Sydney and Melbourne. In Australia, Aboriginal Muslims are a rapidly growing community. Their exact numbers are difficult to determine, but conservative estimates put them at over 1,000, 2006 census, up 60% from the 1996 census of around 600. The number of Aboriginal Muslims in 2011 is expected to continue to increase. Out of a total of 517,000 Aboriginal people in 2006 spread across Australia, Buddhists and Hindus have also increased by 200% and 533% respectively. 2.4% of Australians identify as Buddhist and 1.9% as Hindu. This means that 29.6% of Australians identify as having no religion. This is an increase from 22.6% in the 2011 census. The census has now outnumbered Catholics. This is the first time in Australian history that the number of people claiming no religion has outnumbered Catholics. Those identifying as Catholic have fallen from 25.3% to 22.6%. Christians are still the largest in Australia, at 51% of the population. However, this is far lower than in 1966, 88%, and 1991, 74%. The number of people claiming no religion disproves fears that Australia is becoming a Muslim nation. Census data provides a detailed, accurate, and compelling picture of Australia, which will be used to inform policy, planning, and service delivery decisions that matter to our community in the years to come. Education is highly valued in Australian Muslim communities, with many Muslim families encouraging their children to pursue higher education. There are a number of Islamic schools that have been established to provide education that combines the Australian national curriculum with Islamic religious instruction. Younger Australian Muslims often find themselves balancing their identities as Australian and Muslim, which can sometimes be challenging. However, they also see themselves as part of a bridge connecting different cultures and enriching Australian society with their diverse perspectives. Overall, Muslim life in Australia reflects a dynamic blend of religious and national identities, with challenges and opportunities shaping their experiences in the country. Muslim women in Australia play a significant role in their communities, as leaders, educators, and professionals in a variety of fields. Despite challenges such as gender and religious stereotypes, many are active in advocating for women's rights, including in religious and social contexts. There are many Muslim women's organizations in Australia that work to support women's active participation in society, provide support services, and promote education. For example, they are involved in charitable activities, advocacy, and social projects aimed at strengthening women's roles in the family and community. Second and third generation Australian Muslims, born and raised in Australia, face different challenges and opportunities than their parents. They are often more integrated into Australian culture, but also strive to maintain their religious and cultural heritage. Their identities often reflect a unique combination of Islam and Australianness. In the future, the Muslim community in Australia is likely to grow and play an increasingly important role in society. With a growing population and younger generations becoming more involved in various aspects of public life, the contribution of Muslims to Australia's diversity and social strength is expected to continue to grow. One of the challenges faced by the Muslim community in Australia is representation in the media. The media often influences public perceptions of Islam and Muslims. At times, the mainstream media portrays Muslims in a negative context, especially when it relates to issues such as terrorism or extremism. This can lead to harmful stereotypes and increase Islamophobia. However, there has also been an increase in positive representation of Muslims in the Australian media, both through more balanced coverage and through works created by Australian Muslims themselves. Several Muslim journalists, writers, and filmmakers have begun to create their own narratives to educate the public and introduce a broader view of what it means to be a Muslim in Australia. Living peacefully and practicing Islam in Australia is an experience that many Muslims can enjoy, although they have to navigate various challenges along the way. The freedom of religion recognized under Australian law allows Muslims to practice their religion openly and according to their beliefs. This includes the freedom to worship in mosques, wear Islamic clothing, and celebrate religious holidays such as Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. Muslims in Australia enjoy extensive freedom to worship and practice their religious life. Many mosques and Islamic centers spread across the country provide space for Muslims to pray, study, and interact socially. In addition, Muslim communities often hold religious events such as pengajian, seminars, and lectures that help strengthen faith and solidarity among fellow Muslims. In their daily lives, many Muslims in Australia are able to practice Islam comfortably, both at work, at school, and in their social circles. They can perform the 5 daily prayers, fast during the month of Ramadan, and follow the rules of halal food without many obstacles. Many institutions and companies also provide accommodation for Muslims' religious needs, such as providing space for prayer or giving leave on religious holidays. Many Muslims in Australia are able to live peacefully and calmly while practicing Islam. Friends of the Islamic faith, who are blessed by Allah, I hope this video is useful, and see you in our next video.